Hi guys and welcome to this YouTube video. In this video I'm going to be going over the MT4 basics, so anything that you kind of see generically on your screen. I'm just going to take you through a few of the basics and what you really need MT4 for really. I'm also going to go through the basics of a trend line as well, and we'll do that on a brand new chart, and so I can show you through the process of setting up and things like that. Okay, so here we have MT4 in front of me. So we've got a typical screen that you see on MT4. Sometimes it can look a little bit different as well, but I'm just going to show you and highlight to you the kind of things that you really need to know. Okay, so up the top here, you can see that I've got my account and my broker. So that's when you sign in, which you do if you go to File, and you go to log into trade account. If you click onto that, you can log in with your MT4 details that your broker has given to you. It will bring up their kind of details just in here. It will also bring up the symbols that they have provided to you as well. So where you find that is it's just a little market watch there, or you can click Control M. So if you do Control M, what that'll do is bring this out. Okay, so you can hide it, you can bring it back. All right, and what this does in here just lists all the assets that you have available to trade. Okay, if sometimes you open it and there's only kind of like 10 markets, don't panic. All you need to do is right click, click Show All, and it will bring all the symbols that are available to you. Okay, so what else do we have? We have things like the navigator. Now the navigator is just going to show you where your account is. It's not really going to do much. You've got a terminal which will bring up where your account is and things like that, and alerts and stuff. You've got strategy tester. Now you can actually load strategy testing software onto MT4 Direct, and you can add the basically run the strategy as an expert advisor. New order, obviously this is where you're going to be placing orders. So if you just click up, it brings up a little dialog window, which I'll bring onto the screen now. It'll tell you, everything you need to know. So it will have the symbol just in here. The volume, this is where you need to calculate your volume. Your stop loss, your take profit, any comments you want to add about that trade. So I'm going to show you about Trendlines. If we type in CTL as a CTL break, we'll look at that. Type is just pending order. And in here you'll have another ticket, basically where to what type of trade you want to do. So do you want to do it as a limit order or a stop order? Gives you the options of buy or sell, and at price. So that what price do you want to get in? Essentially, place. You can do an expiry and things like that. You take profit, all that good stuff. Okay. Market execution is just going straight into the market. You want to buy and sell into a market straight away. Okay. Now, coming out of that, we have other things that we need to be aware of as well, which are our time frames, and we look at trading the weekly, daily, 4-hour sort of time frames, and these buttons up here just allow you to dive in each different time frame. Okay, so you can look at them quickly and effectively just by going through these different time frames up here. Okay, so what else do we have? We have our tools. So I'm just going to move these up here. And you can see our tools, we have lots of different things. We have the crosshairs, so if we're trying to look at a certain price that we want to be in at, you can see at the right hand side over here, it highlights the price for us. You can have ellipse tools, which brings in circles. If you just double click and drag the middle out, brings in a circle. Horizontal lines, yeah, you can change all these. If you just go into horizontal line properties, if you right click on the line, you've got all different visualizations, all different kind of styles and stuff you can change with those. Trend lines, fibs, all that kind of good stuff. Now, I did say to you guys that I'll show you a fib technique, and this is the kind of thing that I do. So I've modified the Fibonacci to basically as a entry and stop order kind of configurator. So let's say I wanted to trade this doji off that resistance. I'll put my entry there and I'll put my stop loss in there. Okay, so I know what kind of risk reward parameters I'd be getting for that trade in particular. Okay, so the way you can do that, if I just bring that back on up here, when you bring on your Fibonacci, it will look completely different to mine. So what you need to do is double click, right click, go into Fibo properties, and it'll bring up this little dialog box in here. Okay, so I can't make it any bigger, but these are the levels you need to set. So what I suggest is remove all the levels, then you can add levels in. So if you click add, it brings up a new level just in there, and then you can select it and whatnot. So all you need to do is put 0 as your stop loss, 1 as your entry, and then every increment then you need to just put 1 to 1, so 3, 2 to 1, 4, 3 to 1, and so on and so forth, until you get to a reasonable one. I'll go to 5 to 1, and then all you need to do is select OK, and it will look exactly like this. Okay, so you can do that in your own time. If you want to pause the video and do that, you can. We also have the magnifier over here. You know, we can zoom out with just the magnifiers just there. We have the scroll buttons. Now, if you find that you're dragging the chart back and it keeps snapping back to a point, it's because you have this green scroll chart button clicked. Now, if you untick it and you move away, you know, you'll be able to see your other past history on prices. Okay, so that's how you control that. Again, up here you can go to indicators list and you can type in all indicators and whatnot, but typically we see that at the top. If you don't like candlesticks, for instance, as well, you can go to the open, high, low, close candlesticks, or you can go to a line chart. Okay. If you want to insert any indicators, all you do is go to insert indicators, and you've got them all listed down in here, even custom ones that you put in from other people and other sources. To find those indicators, all you've got to do is go into indicator list, bring that up, and I'll just bring it over to the screen now, and you can see that it's got moving averages, all that kind of good stuff just in there. Okay. So guys, just had to pause the video then because I just started sneezing off camera and it was a bit like, oh my god. So anyway, getting back to the video, what else do we have? Typically those are the basics of MetaTrader. You don't really need anything particularly fancy. It's not meant to be something that's particularly fancy, to be honest. It's just literally the basics for you to take a trade on. You know, there's nothing there to, you know, you don't need any fancy stuff. You know, we use TradingView for kind of like our demonstrations because it's nice, it's clean. You know, if we're showing you through MetaTrader all the time, you know, it's not that, you know, I'd say it's not that, you know, clean to look at, not that nice to look at. So that's why we often refer to trading on TradingView. So what else do we really need to know about this? So what if we didn't have our charts down here where we can just select between on the tabs? Maybe we wanted to have something new to look at, and the best way to do that is just go to File, New Chart, and it lists all the charts available to you. If you go into different areas and different sections, this is what it looks like on my broker. It might look a little bit different on your broker as well. But if I go into Forex here, and let's say I wanted Pound Aussie, okay, so this is what it will generally bring up. It'll bring up Pound Aussie 1 hour chart. So this is what, you know, it'll look like as well if you were to open MetaTrader for the first time. Now you can customize all this template, and all you need to do is right click, come down to properties, and it'll bring up this panel in here. Now what you can do is change all the different colors. So if you wanted to go from a background black background to a white background, you just select it there, and it gives you a little bit of a preview just in here. They do have presets as well, so you can have yellow on black, green on black, black or white. So you do have those presets if you want to set those up yourself. And you know, if you click OK, it will bring up that template for you. Right, so and if you like that format, then you can stick to it. But if you set something up and you like it, you can go to templates, click save template, and what this will do, this again will bring up a dialog box where you can save your templates, and then it's really easy to load. So my one is, I call 0, blue and red. I have others ones. These are kind of ones that I've tested in the past. So like for instance, I had an RSI strategy that I was testing, and that was my format for that. If I go to my template that I use now, it's just a blue and red with a 10 and 20 EMA. Okay, so I've got that already placed into MetaTrader, and all I have to do is just load that template every time I load up a chart, and it's the same thing. Then you won't have any lines or horizontals on it, so you'll have to place those yourself. But, you know, that's not really that hard or difficult to do. Okay, just come up into this tool section here and apply the charts. Okay, so that is the kind of basics for MetaTrader 4. You don't really need to know anything more than that. Obviously, you're going to be taking trades on this, so you need to get familiar with how to take a trade and how to, you know, bank certain profits and things like that. That'll have to be on another video. I don't have any current trades open anymore, so I can't show you that. But essentially, this is all you know, all that MetaTrader really brings. So what else can we do? You know, we were talking about a potential trend line strategy, or how to draw trend lines. And, you know, there's very different variations of trend lines. And, you know, I'm a big believer that trend lines can be drawn in various different ways, but, you know, it's very subjective, I feel. And, you know, sometimes it can, you know, someone might draw one trend line and another person will draw another. So you need to identify what's going to be best for you. And to me, there's two different ways of drawing trend lines. Okay, so the first one, essentially, all you look to do is connect different kind of highs or lows. So if I was in an uptrend scenario like this, and I was looking for the market to kind of bounce at a certain point, what I'd do is I'd look to draw, so let me just grab a different color, a trend line from the lows like so, and then expect or potentially anticipate the market pulling back into that trend line support and continue into the upside. The other way we use the trend line as well is if it breaks through. This is called the CTL break, which is basically stands for counter trend line break. And what we mean by that is, if the market breaks this could be an early indication that the market could continue lower. Okay, so that's another way we use a trend line. But essentially, how you draw them is from two lows in there. If you were looking at a resistance trend line, you would draw it a different way. So if I just remove that second, erase all link, and we had a downtrend and we were looking for continuation of this downtrend, we would look to connect the two highs in there for the market to pull back in and continue lower, like so. Okay. Again, we could look for the CTL break with this as well. So maybe we come into a big major support and we break through the CTL, creating a new higher high, and we'd look to trade further to the upside. Okay. So those are the two kind of ways to draw them with regards to trend. Now, there's two different ways to actually draw them on your chart. Now, you can either draw them from the closing prices, or you can draw them from the candlestick highs and lows, like the wicks. I prefer to draw them from the wicks because it gives you that extreme point where the market could turn, and, you know, kind of gives you a clarity that if the market has broken through an extreme point, then the market could be doing something different. Okay, so for instance, we have a nice little resistance trend line just in here. Now, what I'm going to do, you can see that the market is in a downtrend scenario. Okay, so there's multiple different trend lines we can apply here. What I'd do is I'd take my trend line from the extreme high just in here, and I want to draw it to the first kind of high that I see. And you can see that I've drawn it from this wick to this wick. And you can see that the market approached that resistance trend line and looks to be kind of moving slowly away from it at this current moment in time. Now, if you were to draw this a little bit differently and you were to draw it with the closing prices, it would look completely different. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove these moving averages a second, so the chart's a little bit cleaner. And I'm going to switch it to a line chart. Okay, now the line chart shows you the closing prices. Okay, so what you can do with your trend line then is connect the two structure highs like so, and you can see with doing this you've already got a trend line break and potential CTL break. Okay, now what you need to do really is go away and test this for yourselves. If you find that the market respects the extremes more, or respects the closing prices more, then you need to be able to trade that on your own accord. So that's how trend lines can differ sometimes. You can have longer term trend lines as well, and CTL trend lines. Now, with a CTL trend line, majority, we use this as an entry technique. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the screen sketch back in. And what we do is we look for the phase one continuation moves. Okay, so we still need the market conditions to be met of higher highs, higher lows, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the market, let's say, is moving in this downtrend, and we see the market start pulling back into that phase two. Now, the obvious thing for me would be looking at areas of support and resistance first and foremost. Where's the market going to likely turn from? And if it starts approaching this area and then we see some kind of bearish price action come into play, I would then apply a counter trend trend line on my phase two. So I'll take the low points of the phase two and expand the trend line like so. I would then look for the market to break and close below the trend line. So it's a little bit of a late entry. It's not the start where you'd be looking to trade from here. It's a little bit later. You're looking for the confirmation essentially. And if you get that, then you can look to enter the market with your stops above the highs in anticipation of a continuation down lower, possibly into previous structure lows. Okay, so there's a couple of areas where we can see that that's happened, and you can see the market has been moving in this relative downtrend here. Let me just jump to a 4 hour to see if we've got some cleaner examples, and let's just have a look. Okay, so you can see a clear downtrend here, right? So the market has made a lower low. It's pulled back. You can see that that's a phase two retracement. Look how the candles differ from the phase one movement. Okay, so how would I apply a trend line here? So I look at the lowest low of the phase two, which comes in there, and then I'd expand my trend line higher. Okay, now in this case, it's a little bit square because they're at this extreme point here. It comes down, tests the same low, and bounces higher. So you could look at doing something a little bit alternatively, like this. It's the kind of steeper example, but it's the same sort of thing. You see the market break, close below, and you can enter a trade. Over here as well, you see the market break, close below. You can look to possibly enter a trade down there. Market creates a phase one again, then we see a phase two pullback. We're getting lower lows. Okay, so what I'll do is go from the lowest point of my phase two, expand it up, and you can see that if I just make it a little bit neater, I've used that low point in there as well. Something that stands out to you, something that you can look at and go, right, okay, there's an extreme point. I'm going to take it from that. You can see the market then closes below, and then the phase one continues. Okay, so you'd enter there, stops above the highs, target the previous structure lows, or if you had a long-term plan for the trade, you can target lower. Again, just going to move this over. You can see we create the lower low. I go to the lowest point of the phase two, expand my trend line. You can see that I've taken that low in there and that one in there. We break through, close below, you enter on the low, stops above the highs, continuation lower. Okay, and it works the exact same as a resistance point. So you could look at targeting this high in there, expanding it down here at the extreme, so you can say, right, okay, that's a trend line resistance. Those two have been confirmed. Where's the market likely to go? Maybe retest that trend line structure, and then continuation to the downside. Okay, so that is kind of like the basics on the trend lines analysis. I hope this video helps, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. Okay, so cheers, thank you.